what I often see with women is we shrink ourselves and we're constantly in double binds. And so I'm like, no, ladies, you are powerful and strong and supported. I believe in an abundance mindset, and I believe there's a seat on the bus for all of us, no matter what we're doing. There's only one Dani, there's only one Toni, and the type of clients we work with will find us because we're our unique selves, and we're not competing with one another. We can lift each other up.
Hey y'all, it's Dani C. Welcome to the Happy Life Agenda podcast. My guest today is Toni Will, the general manager of the Kalamazoo Wings, which is a men's AA professional hockey team. And when I read Toni's story and I listened to her TEDx talk, I was beyond intrigued. She leads in an organization where the workforce is 97% male and 3% female. So I know Toni has so much wisdom to share. So Toni, welcome to the show. I barely scratched the surface of all you do. Tell us about you and your journey.
Yeah, boy, where do I start? So, the number one question I get asked, and I think it's a great place to start, is did I set out to be a general manager of a men's professional hockey team? And the answer is no, I didn't. They want to know if I play hockey, and no, I didn't. But I did grow up here in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I came to a handful of games in my childhood. My parents brought me. But never did I think I would be the general manager of a pro sports team in any gender, men or women. And it was completely on accident. So, the story's interesting to how I got here because there was trial and tribulation and fear. And then when I ultimately landed on the doorstep of the Kalamazoo Wings back in 2015, and I accepted the job, I didn't even know how to do the job. So here we are 11 years later, and it's the best job I never knew I wanted. But the first part of my career was in banking for the first 13 years. And then I ran the Chamber of Commerce after that for a couple years. And then I ended up accidentally in hockey.
Wow, that's quite a contrast, banking to hockey. I bet the excitement level day to day is
Well, it's very different. And just alone, like I loved banking. I thought it was interesting. It's a great place to cut your teeth in sales and leadership because you're dealing with someone's financials. And that's a really sensitive topic. I often talk about how I think it's second in line behind healthcare. So if you can really cut your teeth there, and that's where I did as a leader in sale, a leader of people because I was a branch manager, and then selling a non-sexy product like checking accounts or home equity loans. Then you come over to hockey and it's totally different. The hours are different. The vibe is different. Everything's different. But it suited my personality more, which is why I've been doing this for such a long time. I love the challenge.
so cool. I like how you started this, conversation with, there was a lot of fear. You didn't know what you were doing because a big part of the Happy Life Agenda and when I started it is like having faith over fear and stepping into those uncomfortable moments and uncovering something that we've probably been chasing our whole lives and never knew. So that is just amazing that you've been able to do that. And it's been so rewarding for you.
Yeah, I like to speak to that because
Yeah,
I get
please.
asked a lot, like, how do you have the confidence to step into a job that you have no idea how you're doing or what you're doing? And I kind of liken this to, as I was writing my book, I was talking about like having children too. I don't know about you, but when I had my kids, it's not like I knew how to parent. You know, I mean, they don't like you don't get a chip downloaded in your brain and you know how to do this, like raise a human. No, I kind of approached it the same way. Like, I don't have to have all the answers, and it's okay to say I don't know. And what helped me do is shape my leadership pillars, which I talk about in my TEDx,
Yes.
to help me like move through this world that I didn't know, and it's aided me to this day, both personally and professionally.
Amazing. Well, let's talk about those six leadership pillars because that's kind of, when I was listening to your TED talk, you asked the most poignant question when you started that talk. And it was like, how can you turn your perceived weaknesses into strengths? And you said, in that talk, that's what got you through, not knowing how to manage hockey. And so a lot of women, we get really, afraid and we focus on the negative and we're like, I can't do this. And so how did you, use these pillars to move yourself through being a
Yes.
manager?
Yeah. So this is such a great question. And that's, I mean, writing that the script for that TEDx and just starting from a blank piece of paper. Oh my gosh, that was so hard. The whole thing was exciting, but it was hard work. But it helped me be able to articulate what I did, because I say this because a lot of what I did was unconscious competence back then. I
Ah,
didn't have language for it. And I think language is really important. So let me tell, and I told this story a little bit in the TEDx, but Western Michigan University is my alma mater. And they had reached out to me several years ago and said, Toni, will you come in and talk to one of our classes about how you turn the wings around? And I chuckled because I'm like, well, I'm in the middle of it back then, but I didn't think I had reached the summit yet of Mount Everest. But then I was like, okay, they want me to talk about this. So I appreciated the compliment, certainly. But I was like, how did I do this? And so I wrote on a standard yellow post-it note. I just said, okay, well, let me think about this. Let me put language to it. And I wrote down 6 things. And I took that post-it note with me anytime I spoke. It was just in my purse. I'd pull it out. I don't even know why I didn't have it on my notes phone my phone. But so I wrote these things down. So leadership pillar number one, and the first thing I did when I started here is go to the experts. And I was like, okay, there are, at the time, I can't remember how many teams in the league. There were 24, 25 teams in the league. So I thought, well, I'll just start to reach out to the Tonys of their organizations, because common sense told me we may be competitors on the ice, but we're not competitors off the ice, because we're all over the country and into Canada. So I just started reaching out to the other GMs and I said, can I come visit you? And they were like, of course. And so sometimes I'd go alone. Sometimes I'd bring my staff, depending, like, especially if we were in division, where we could drive to Fort Wayne, Indiana, where we could drive to Toledo, Ohio, where we could drive to Indianapolis, Indiana. We even drove up to Brampton in Toronto. And so we could learn what they did from these experts. And then it moved to leadership pillar number two, which is innovate. Because, but I'm going to use Indianapolis as an example. Their population is 1 million. Our population is 75,000 in Kalamazoo proper. So
wow.
what works to sell in Indy is going to be very different to fill seats from a sales standpoint in Kalamazoo.
Mhm.
So how do we innovate that and make it work for Kalamazoo? And so that was leadership pillar number two. And then I was like, okay, what happened after I went to the experts and after we innovated? This one, I was like, oh, well, this one's easy. We made a lot of mistakes. I mean, there some of these mistakes, I was like, I chuckle now, but some of them were just spelling errors. Like I in my TEDx, I talk about some are little and some
Mhm.
were big. And so we learned from those mistakes. Like the big one I talked about, I think I said, and then my TEDx, I'll save it for another. We had the story, but we had to cancel a game 2 hours prior to puck drop.
Oh,
Oh, that one stings. It's never happened again.
you learn.
But why are mistakes so powerful? Because they're
Learn.
painful.
Mhm.
And we remember our mistakes so much easier than our successes.
I know.
And so if we can learn from those, and then if it happens again, then I start to consider, maybe I don't have a learner, or maybe I'm not learning the way so
Yeah.
oftentimes you don't see it happen twice. So that was number three. And then I was like, okay, what happens after I made mistakes? How to, like, more of the how. Oh, all right. So then I went to personality, my leadership style, and a couple of these. Well, the last three: ask for forgiveness rather than permission. So
Yes.
here's the difference between banking and pro hockey. Banking is highly regulated because it's
Mhm.
money, FDIC insured money. You don't want a real rebel in your banking world. But in pro hockey, you do, because the more creative you can get, and it's hockey, it's edgy, it's cool, it's rough, it's tumble. How do we get more people in the building? And so it was like just different game theme nights and promotions, and some of them are very polarizing, some of them are very popular. We've done everything from a deaf awareness game, Rainbow Ice. We're the first team ever to dye our ice rainbow.
Wow.
Star Wars. We've set two Guinness World Records. Like, we've done some really cool things, but I don't ask for permission per se. I just go. I'm like, no, we're doing this. Let's go. And most of the time, I don't get in trouble. So
As a
your
marketer,
person,
that sounds amazing.
Yeah,
Just do it.
it is. It's so freeing, but most people aren't willing to say, "It's okay if I tick people off." I
Mhm.
don't mind it. I don't mind it because 'cause we're spurring conversation.
Right.
Yeah. Leadership pillar number 5, this speaks to my leadership style as well, as macromanage. It's about the
Love
culture
that
of
one.
my staff. Yeah, nobody likes to be micromanaged.
No,
No,
right.
even our own kids. Okay, so, our little kids. Mine aren't little anymore, but so the 3 most powerful words I say to this team on a daily basis is, "I trust you,"
Yes.
and I mean it. And so if I trust them, when I'm pulled out of the office for various reasons, whether it's personal or professional, like when my mom passed away this past winter, I was out a lot. And I'm like, I trust you guys. And they were rocking and rolling because we had the strategic plan in place. We have that culture of trust and autonomy in place. And so that macro manage is really critical to the culture of this organization. And then
Yes.
finally is have fun. I
Yes.
know it sounds simple, but we as adults take a life way too seriously sometimes. Like, how can we have fun, especially in sports entertainment, when people are coming here and spending their discretionary dollars here to have fun? So, why aren't we having fun? And so, we have a lot of fun. There's a lot of different things I do with the staff, with our fans, like to keep it light and have a sense of humor about everything we do.
Amazing. I love that. And like watching your TED Talk, just hearing you say it again now, it just goes with so many things, whether it's a business or for life. And as I researched for you, and my next question is like you were able to take this framework and not only apply it to being successful for the Kalamazoo Wings, but then also to pivot into a life coaching business. And now you're able to help women, and your particular focus is on helping people be alcohol free, which I thought was such a cool way to frame that. So can you share with our audience like how you leverage that framework to help people reach healthier goals like being alcohol free? I think you do nutrition and fitness as well.
Yeah. So when I originally, so I launched the business. I always wanted to be the CEO of something, and I learned throughout my career. I'm like, well, if you want to be the CEO of something, Tony, then you're going to need to create it. And I didn't think I would create it off the thing I was most ashamed of, but I was like, wait a minute, I can reframe this. I don't subscribe to the term alcoholic. It is not recognized by the CDC. It's alcohol use disorder. And people, and even that language alone will turn a lot of people off to looking at just alcohol. So I'm going to take that language off the table. I'm going to choose to live alcohol free as a health and wellness decision, and I'm going to do it out loud. The
Yes.
reason I did it. Now, I did not like my relationship with alcohol. I didn't. Did I think I had a problem with it? Yeah. Anyone can feel like they have a problem with alcohol, though. It could be
Mhm.
someone that drinks once a month and doesn't like how they feel and wants to work on this.
Mhm.
And so, what I did in 2020, and actually, I'm coming up on Sunday on 5 years alcohol free. I
Congratulations.
decided, thank you, I decided to put myself in a 30-day Tony timeout. And I like alliteration. So I just said I was going to take a 30-day break, and it was hard. It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, and I was upset, and I didn't understand how I couldn't have it all. The definition, our culture really glorifies alcohol, and it made me feel like I was broken, and it
Mhm.
made me feel like I should be ashamed. And there's language on alcohol branding, drink responsibly. So was I an irresponsible drinker because I don't like how it makes me feel both physically and emotionally?
Mhm.
And so after a couple months, and I don't like to make it sound like a gross oversimplification because those early days were pretty hard. But I decided I wanted to get a certification, and I had time, which I generally don't do because of my day job. But during that point, we were in the early-ish days of the pandemic,
Ah,
and Michigan was closed. A lot of Michigan was closed, so I was still working for the hockey team, but we did not play. And so I took that time while I was home and got a certification over a 6-month period to help people reduce or remove alcohol. And from there,
wow.
I launched Mindfulness Elevated, which actually that branding doesn't exist anymore. It's just all under tonywill.com. But because the business, from the minute I started it, And then it grew into professional development coaching because then people would learn that I've had 3 different kind of careers over my 25-year tenure. And then it led to a podcast for women in to lift women up in sports or just in any part of their lives. And then
Wow.
it led to my conference, Empower Her. And so it led to all
Wow.
these things like the thing I viewed as my greatest weakness was actually a strength.
Wow. Wow, that leads right into your question. You started your TED Talk.
Mhm.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to pick your brain a little bit more because I know like a lot of my friends and I, we're in our 40s, we're having this conversation because you've had a relationship with alcohol from 21 or earlier. And we sit and we're like, do we want to quit drinking? Am I really an alcoholic? So I like the way that you framed it as it's alcohol free. It's not really this bad thing. It's just like, do I really need this in my life? So did you notice like, am I more productive? Am I less stressed? Once you stopped drinking, did you find, I mean, because you're so accomplished and that was one of the things, and you don't seem stressed out or overwhelmed. So do you align that, like some of your successes with like finally letting go of this thing that's, we
Mhm.
started it in our 20s because it was the cool thing to do. And like you said, it's so glamorized. I think about that all the time. It's like what I saw on TV growing up. I was like, oh, if you go out to the clubs and drink, you're a cool kid. But
Yep.
you said it on a recent LinkedIn post. It's like one bottle of wine is like smoking 10 cigarettes. Where's that in all the
It's
advertising?
Well, that's why I'm doing those videos every day this month. I'm like, social media world is gonna be so sick of me, but I was like, I wanted to my imposter syndrome creeps in. Um, but it's not known because the alcohol industry doesn't do that. And if I get on this soapbox, I get first off, one of the videos I said, and I'll show this too, not that I plan on alcohol is a drug.
Mhm,
Okay. So
mhm.
I've had these made, but I have cool kids don't drink and cool kids don't do drugs. I have a bunch of merch because it is cool not to drink
Yeah.
and drinking is a drug. It is a known carcinogen, class one bottle of wine is like smoking 10 cigarettes. And people are like, oh, I've never been a smoker. Oh, okay. Have you been drinking any type of alcohol? Because it's the same darn thing.
Yeah.
So that part's crazy. How I kind of want to answer this question is to talk about this in a different light, which
Sure.
is I like to experiment with different lifestyle choices. Like I quit caffeine for 2 years at one point. I quit eating meat for 2 years at one point, and not at the same time. But once I stopped drinking, I was like, well, let me experiment in other spaces.
I love that.
Now, meat or caffeine, either one of those, if I tell someone, "Oh, I don't drink caffeine," or, "Oh, I don't eat meat," they're not like, "Wait a minute. Are you a meataholic?" Because no one "Are you a caffeineaholic?" No, I wasn't addicted to eating copious amounts of protein. It was a health and wellness decision. So why on God's green earth do I have to sit here and justify drinking a known toxin that
Right.
is yeah, why? It's ethanol. Why do I have to justify this? So that's why I decide, like, as you ladies and you are asking yourselves these questions, it's so natural and normal, but most people don't want to talk about it out loud
Mhm.
because, there's a fear that people are going to talk about Toni per se behind her back and say, I bet you Toni had a problem with alcohol. Yeah, Toni did. Toni had a pro I had a problem with it. Doesn't matter how much I was drinking. But yes, I have given myself back. The data shows on average 800 hours a year because I quit drinking.
Wow. Wow. All the time management courses can't give that back to you. That's impactful.
Right. So when people ask me and they say, thank you for the compliment, I'm really accomplished. Um, I gave myself 800 hours on average back a year. So what do I do with those 800 hours? I start a
Yeah.
business, I coach clients, I start a podcast, my book comes out next year. Like I maximize my time because I'm not thinking about drinking, actively drinking, or recovering from drinking.
Wow. Wow. I just knew I really wanted to ask you that question because, like I said, I'm having this conversation and I really appreciate your honesty in answering that because it's something that's been on my mind and you're just in your TEDx talk, how you approached it. It wasn't coming from this like AA style conversation. So thank you so much for being so bold with this conversation.
Yeah,
It's
my
awesome.
pleasure. I'm an open book. I mean, I really am about this because I want women what I often see with women is we shrink ourselves and we're constantly in double binds. And so I'm like, no, I want to see like you are the ladies, you are powerful and strong and supported. I believe in an abundance mindset, and I believe in there's a seat on the bus for all of us, no matter what we're doing. Even a lot of my friends do the exact same business I do, but and as an entrepreneur. But here's the thing: there's only one Dani, there's only one Toni, and the type of clients we work with will find us because we're our unique selves, and we're not
Yes.
competing with one another. We can lift each
Yes.
other up.
Yes. Oh my gosh, so true. Love that. Well, so the next question, although hearing you get 800 hours back is big, but how are you so accomplished without overwhelm? Because I've watched you on social media, reading through your stuff, seeing your videos. You're just you have this amazing spirit and calm about you, and you are accomplishing so much. You did Ironman triathlons. You're a mom, a wife, an executive, podcast host, TEDx speaker, entrepreneur. How do you do it without all the overwhelm? Like, I'm just so infatuated. I love it.
Well, the Ironmans I did in my 30s. So, yeah. Um, so if you were to ask my husband, Josh, he's such a huge supporter of mine, but he would tell you I'm not as cool, calm, and collected as I come off. And that's all true transparency, because there are days I'm really stressed out, obviously, and but I get so energized by this work. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Like podcasting and having conversations, even if you
Yes.
and I were just having coffee somewhere. I love it. So.
Yes.
Um, so how do I do it? The practical answer to this is, well, there's two parts. I'm going to give you practical and then the emotional side.
Sure.
Behaviorally, I have a digital calendar, and I know that sounds simplistic, but a lot of people don't. And so everything in my calendar is color coded. And so it just lets me know, like when I'm doing a podcast interview, it's light blue. When I have a K Wings meeting, it's purple. When I have family commitments, it's yellow. My bills are green because green is money, or, like it's all, and I have several different calendars, and Google's great because it just overlaps.
Yeah.
And so I can just see, and that's how I'm very organized that way behaviorally. Um, the emotional side is really more about just, I'm driven by a passion slash calling. And so when I decided to launch my coaching business, it felt effortless to me. It felt like a calling.
Wow.
My book, my husband read it and he said, I don't know how you're putting all this out there. He goes, are you scared? I'm like, a little. And he's like, and he's more private than I am. And I just said, all I know what to tell you, honey, is that it's a calling, to help people and to let them know they're not alone.
Yeah.
So that passion can drive me. And I would say there's a difference between a passion and a calling. I'm passionate about the Kalamazoo Wings, and then the alcohol free side of my life and all that work is a calling.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That's just so important because that's one of the things that I talk about a lot on the Happy Life Agenda is that when it's a calling, you don't know, you just know you got to answer it and things just kind of slowly fall into place and it makes you less fearful of some of the things that you're sharing. And so that's amazing to hear. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to point out, and I think this is more on the behavioral side. So when I talk about go to the experts, and you
Mhm.
see my social media posts, and so I filmed that content in September.
Oh,
I have a social media agency now. I hired experts to do this work for me. My website, I hired an expert, social media expert. My book, I hired a ghostwriter expert. All my financials, so I don't like spend more money than I'm making. I have a financial advisor, all women, by the way,
nice.
all women owned businesses. And so I go to experts and have help. I don't do all of it on my own, and I invest money in myself or in my business, knowing that there's an ROI in it. So
Yes. That's such good advice because when I started on this journey, I always say I was an entirely different person for a long time. And I think there was a mentality that I kind of grew up with, which is like, you have to know it all and do it all. And that is kind of how I ran my life. And since I've leaned into this, like, hey, I can get an expert for this and I can get an expert for that. And I will be so much more successful and move so much faster if I will just let somebody else be good at what they're good at. And then things have started to happen, and now lo and behold, my marketing, because I do branding, is like, hey, let me handle your branding and you go be good at what you're good at. And so it's something that can't be emphasized enough is you don't have to be good at it all, and in fact you'll move faster and do better. You trust the experts.
Yeah, I learned that when I launched my business early on. I was like, I cannot build my own website. I don't care what Websites for Dummies book says. And so I immediately put out a call for web designers and branding people in Kalamazoo, and we met virtually. And I hired her over 4.5 years ago, and it's been phenomenal. And then when I went through the rebrand this year, because I'm like, people are really confused about who the heck I am, so I just rebranded to my name and all, and then we went through that process. And so yeah, it inexpensive? No, because the best at what people like you and my social media or my web designer branding, they're worth the money. And
Yes.
I'll from a business perspective, what I invested to initially start my business all those years ago, it took me 5 months to recoup that once I launched.
Wow. But it's you probably recouped it faster than you would have if you'd done it yourself because I mean, even like in the marketing world, everything's very DIY. Every company it seems like tries to get away with just having that like one marketer that can do it all. And when I had the opportunity to build my teams, I was like, okay, let's see. I'm gonna hire you. Let's see what your strengths are, and then I'll move you in that direction. And when that got them focused on the thing that they loved and that they were good at, they produced so much faster. And we built, pieces of the team that came together as a whole and created the most amazing website, the most amazing piece asset, the most video. So it's amazing that
Exactly.
you I mean, that's
Yeah,
even the
yeah.
way, yeah.
Yes, 100%. So the other thing I encourage people to do, regardless of gender, it doesn't matter. And I don't say this because I'm a coach for professional development as well, is get a coach,
Yes.
because the coach is going to be able, they're not emotionally attached or living your day-to-day life.
Mhm.
And so on the alcohol side, it's great because it's a lot of emotional work. Most people are emotionally attached to alcohol, not physically, emotionally. There's a difference.
Mhm.
And then on the professional development side, it's helpful to have someone having some level of accountability for you, be able to look at things differently. If you're looking to start a business or get out of a midlife career rut or all those things, push you into hiring that marketing agency to build your brand or build your website and give you those attaboys or girls. And so I encourage anyone. I have a coach.
Yeah.
Like, we coaching is such a invaluable investment. So I encourage people to step into that and don't get sticker shock because it's worth it.
Yes, yes. In fact, I had a guest on recently, and we actually talked about that, and I, had her sum up like, what are your top 3 pieces of advice? And her number 3 really was so impactful because, there's a lot of things around like sitting around and, and I hate to say sitting around, but sometimes it feels like, hey, if I just manifest and meditate hard enough, everything will happen. But her last piece of advice was get a mentor or get a coach that's going to let you get out of that closet, off the couch, and actually, walk beside you as you're doing those scary things and encourage you at the very least. But a lot of times, if you hire an expert, they're going to give you some insights too that make it less scary. So that's fantastic
100%.
advice.
Yeah.
Well, so on that note is I know you talk to organizations and I was very moved. Like I said, macro management, you said, nobody wants to be micromanaged, yet it happens so frequently, especially in organizations. And so I see where we are as a culture, like we've kind of when you come into a company, you have to just like take orders instead of being able to flourish as your creative self and maybe bring your most productive and most creative self to a project. And so when you go and talk to organizations, how do you help leaders create a shift in their thinking so that the whole organization can experience this macro manage culture?
Yeah. So one of the most transformational books. So I read my age every year. And so I'm 47 years old this year. I'm reading 47 books, listen to
Wow.
47 podcasts, not my own because that's cheating. And then I watch at least one TED talk a month, if not more. And I
Wow.
do that for my own development, for my clients, development. I like to be a deep well. The reason I set the
Yeah.
stage that way is one of the most impactful books I've read in recent years is 10x is easier than 2x.
Read that.
And so this is a mindset. It is about 10xing your life professionally or personally, but how do you do that? And so let me talk, I'll give you an example. So when I talked about the 800 hours I gave myself back from quitting drinking, that's a 10x move. And by
Yeah.
that I mean it's about shedding stuff. So I shed alcohol, and then look what opened up for me in
Wow.
terms of the next steps. And so what I do when I talk, and I do this with my staff here, I took them through the training I've built around 10xing, and then they do a 1 year vision worksheet. and it has different buckets of your life: health, career, financial, spirituality. There's these different buckets, and then we break that out into battle boards. And each month we sit down for 30 minutes and we're like, okay, because we're doing the ultimate 10x here professionally. We're building a brand new arena here in Kalamazoo. It is a $500 million project. We're moving in 2 years. It's huge. And so we're going to be 10xing just in our where we're moving from. So we're
Wow.
going to have to shift our mindset into that space because we're going to be selling totally different products than we're selling now because we're in a 51-year-old building now.
Oh, wow.
It's very different. So that is what I go in, and then I do keynotes like for the league. I've done keynotes on how to 10x. I've done at the National Sports Forum how to 10x, and then usually the one-on-one coaching or group coaching for depending on who hires me for what. I can take teams through it too. It's a huge commitment as a leader to do that, but it works if you're committed to it and you execute.
Wow. So you really help illustrate that. I mean, because I read that book. I actually read it twice because it was so impactful, and it actually led to me changing the way I ran my team. And then I was like, okay, I might need to look at things differently from a life perspective. But so you really kind of lean into that, like, hey, you could be getting further if you were just looking at things from that macro manage side of things.
Exactly. Exactly. And so it's like, what can we shed? What can we hold loosely? And holding loosely is what macromanaging is.
Yes.
Micromanaging is holding things tightly and suffocating the life out of it. But if we hold it loosely, we are going to get further faster and being willing to let go of certain things.
I like that. That's a very simple illustration. Is holding loosely. That's fantastic.
Mhm.
So one of the other questions I wanted to ask you is like you very obviously don't play small, and one of the biggest mistakes that I see women make is they play small. And myself included when I started on this journey is I can't do that. That's bigger than me. I mean, even going out and searching for podcast guests. I don't think that, 6 months ago I would have even reached out to you, which I didn't. But I had an intern that was just like she didn't know what was big or small, and she just started reaching out to people, and people were saying yes that I felt were way out of my league for being on my show. And now I get to meet amazing people like you. So first, thank you for coming on. And then second, like, what is your advice for women that are playing small? How do they make these seismic shifts like you have?
Yeah, I'm gonna give a couple like pretty simple. They may not feel simple, but simple tips, and then I'll talk about something bigger in terms of building confidence.
Oh, love it.
So, simple tips is when I introduce myself to someone, I always say my first and last name.
Oh,
Okay, so this is a branding thing, and just but I always, and it's not just because my name is 8 letters in total, but it's really confused. Like if you didn't meet me and you heard my name was Toni Will, you probably think you're talking to a guy because I have two voice names, right? But I always say my name, my full name, no matter what I'm doing, Toni Will.
I like it.
Okay, so that is just it's a confidence builder. Because what if your name is like Amy Smith and if there's any Amy Smiths out there. But if it can set you apart.
Right.
So use your name and say it with confidence. And then number two, if you are going into a meeting with anybody and the head of the table seat is open because you're the first one in the room or whatever, you sit at the head of the table.
Ooh, I like it.
If it is your kitchen table, you sit at the head of the table.
I like it.
Pick that seat at the head of the table. And I would say this, I don't use definitives often, but if you're ever in a room and there are seats around the perimeter of and not just at the table, never take a seat on the perimeter.
Wow.
That's not what badass women do.
I
So
love that.
there's some practical advice.
That's
Um,
great.
but this all takes confidence, right? So how do people are always like, Toni, how are you so confident? And I was like, let me think about that. So achieving goals is the short answer. But let's take the Ironman, for example. That was really hard. I hired a coach. I trained for a year. I've done two of them, 2014 and 2017. But it's not like I knew I could swim 2.4 miles, ride a bike 112 miles, and then run a marathon at 26.2 miles day one of training. I had to hit these, I had to do these 30-minute runs and these 5-mile bikes and these 500-yard swims and that's a tiny fraction of what I ended up doing a year later, but I had to build confidence in those tiny workouts that got longer and longer and longer and longer to the point where I could do my first Ironman in 13 hours and 56 minutes.
Wow.
So it's those tiny wins that build up to the overall. And the Ironman's actually a really perfect example of that.
Yeah. Wow. The tiny wins is a really good one because I think, you fitness is such a great analogy for life, but it's when we land a podcast guest that we never thought we would, that's a small win and like, okay, I can do this. I think that's a really good piece of advice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
I would, oh yeah, go ahead. Do you have more to comment on
no, no, no.
that?
I just I love the compliment of landing me as a guest. I didn't imposter syndrome definitely creeps in, and so it's something that's normal. A lot of women struggle with it,
Mhm.
and I find that the women who find more success feel it even more, and it's okay. You just name it, and I've worked really hard, and yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, cool, thank you, and I'm gonna take it, and then I'm gonna be like, yeah, it's okay, Tony. You don't have to feel like a giant a hole. You worked hard for this.
Yeah, and you're the badass woman that sits at the head of the table and never takes a seat on the perimeter. I love that one. I've never thought of that before. Like, so good.
Good, good. I want to hear when you do it. And tell me how it feels.
Oh, definitely. So all of this probably comes together in your new book. I believe it's titled Not the Norm. What can we
Mhm.
expect? What are some of the key takeaways from your new book and when does it come out?
So, when it comes out, I'm hoping. So, the manuscript we just finished it this week. So, I submit to publisher on Monday. My hope is it'll be out in March when I have my Empower Her conference for 2026 here in Kalamazoo. So, that's tentative right now. So, it'll be Q1, Q2 of 2026. But don't worry, if you follow me on socials, you'll know because I'm out there. But what it's about, it's taking my TEDx and just expanding it into much more stories and the how using my 6 leadership pillars on how you can implement what lessons I'm teaching. I talk about a lot of hard stuff that I've faced in my life. Like, I talk about actually my book opens up with my arrest in 2016, and so I don't talk about that on the TEDx stage, but I tell that story. And then the book ends with me standing on my own stage for Empower Her 2025 and how everything in between.
Wow. Okay, so you've mentioned Empower Her a couple times. I've seen it on social media, but I don't know exactly what it is. I'd love for you to tell our audience what this is and if it's something that, everybody can get involved with.
Yeah. So, what the Empower Her is, it is a conference for women, personally or professionally, who are looking to find other like-minded women, and it's a boutique style conference. It's all about empowerment. And when I say boutique style, I have 100 spots and that's it.
Oh,
It's
nice.
in my hometown, Kalamazoo, Michigan, and probably a place where people are like, why would I want to go to Kalamazoo in March? Well, I'm going to make it worth your while. um, but what we do is we spend it 36 hours together and we're together all day. And by that, I mean, we're not in breakout sessions. I've gone to a lot. I go to a lot and I speak at a lot of conferences with
Mhm.
thousands of people. I wanted to make it smaller. I wanted to make it intimate. And I wanted the women who come to be able to learn from me as the keynote and then connect and grow with the other women who are there from all different lines of business. And even if they don't work, maybe someone's a stay at home mom, great, doesn't matter. Because a lot of these conferences we go to are specific to industry.
Mhm.
They're for realtors or for sports or
Mhm.
for social media or for marketing, but this is a catch all. And so at the end of the conference, we have transportation. I bring everyone to a Kalamazoo Wings hockey game
Oh my
and we have a
gosh.
VIP experience here. And so we have food and beverage, and we'll have a picture on the ice. And the game this year I'm taking everyone to is Green Ice, which
Oh,
is our annual St. Patrick's Day game, and we are known. That's the game where we first colored the ice back in 1981. So it's going to be the best 36 hours. And yeah, so that's what Empower Her 2026 is about. Tickets go on sale on October 12th, which
oh,
is as a
it's coming up.
5 year anniversary of being alcohol free. And it's the lowest ticket price for 30 days. And then the price goes up incrementally over the course between October and March.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So everybody, y'all heard that. The tickets go on sale October 12th. And that sounds
Mhm.
like such an amazing experience because I do think, like you said, industry specific. And then the conferences get too big and there's that level of overwhelm and you don't really get to know people. You don't know who you can really connect with. And so I like that you have that vision for keeping it a little more intimate. And that's incredible.
Yeah,
And where
it's really it's really important to me as a because I've been there's titles that have been bestowed upon me like thought leader and an influencer, and I don't know how I feel about those. I don't. I'm not offended, but I want people to know that they can connect with me. Like you're,
Yes.
I'm not. I'm not a celebrity. That's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is to really help impact women's lives, and so that means, yeah, get in the room with me. Like, come talk to me. Let's have a cup of coffee. And that's really important to me. Being humble and grounded, and laughing and having
Yes,
fun.
yes. Oh my gosh, that's so great because it's a lot of times you can get, enamored with someone's stage presence and you don't ever get a chance to really know them. So I appreciate that you're making that a mission and part of that because it's so important. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, my pleasure.
So this has been such a fun conversation, and I know I have to have you back when your book comes out so you can share with the world what that's all about. And you left us with that cliffhanger. I got to read the first chapter now to know what is happened in
It
2016.
I'm telling you, Dani, it is tea. I read it and I'm like, oh, like when I was like, oh my God, yeah, yeah, it's good.
That's good. That's smart. It's like hook them right away. That's so cool. And you left this awesome teaser for us. So I'm
Yeah.
very excited. And I just want to thank you so much for everything. So share with us like, where we can find you, where we can buy tickets to Empower Her, and just how we can stay connected to you.
Yeah, so toniwill.com is everything we talked about today. There is under explore at toniwill.com, there's a drop down menu. Empower 2026 is one of the items in there. My podcast, Women in dot dot dot, which Dani is going to be a guest on. We're recording soon. I
Exciting.
have to look at my calendar. I think it's
November.
October and November. Okay. And then just everything, the merch I have, like Cool Kids Don't Do Drugs, Cool Kids Don't Drink. That's all at tonywill.com. The hockey side of my life is at kwings.com. K is in Kalamazoo, wings.com. And everything related to pro hockey is over there.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And I will say I did scope Toni's website and she does have some really cool merch. There's some really like cute sweatshirts and some Stanley cups that have, the cool kids don't drink and cool kids don't do drugs. I thought that was a really awesome merch that you have. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Toni, for being here. I will have, as always, Toni's bio and her information on happylifeagenda.com. If you're driving and didn't get to write that down, you can find it there. And then, of course, if you love this episode, please click subscribe below, leave us a review, and show your support in the best way possible so we can continue to bring incredible guests like Toni. And we'll be chatting on social media when this episode comes out. So be sure to join the conversation there. Thanks again, Toni. I hope to talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Dani.